Hello and welcome to another lesson. This is the third lesson, Hotels Management System Development in MS Excel VBA. Now, fast forward, in our previous lessons, we dealt with how to we dealt with the FRM, that is the inquiry form, as well as the part of the booking form. So, in this lesson, we're going to continue with the booking form where we can capture the customer details from the booking form. So, moving straight forward, let's go to the developer tab after launching application, Visual Basic, and from here, let's locate the FRM booking. Let's double click to launch it. Okay, so we already know what is actually happening here. That is after the customer, after we search, that is we search for, sorry, after searching for a room, that is a single room, probably ground floor, and search. When we click on this, we select it and then click on booking, then this form is launched. And then we already know how all these details by default came here. And now here we have the date. So we have our calendar here, which we've already imported, and I'll be showing you how we have it running on this icon. So what we need to do is to capture the customer's details. So with here, probably you don't have to do anything much here because we already have the date, which is taking the current date. If someone is you are going to book someone or for the person to check in from today, then we leave it to the current date. Okay. However, maybe if the person is coming to take over from tomorrow, then you can change the date to tomorrow or whatsoever. That is why we have this calendar here. So now the next thing we are going to do is to capture the details, other details of the that is the customer. Okay, the customer, the contact number, the name of the customer, the address, the purpose of whatever coming to the hotels or guest house, the ID type, the ID number, and then the advance payment. If there is tax, you add that as well. So once we do that and click on this checking button, we'll have all these details quickly displayed on this particular customer data sheet. Okay, we have it here. As you can see, we've already created it and have our database, all the columns labeled perfectly. If you haven't done that, you would have to watch the previous lessons to get that done before you join us here. So now moving forward, let's quickly come back once again. So let's go back to the FRM booking once again. So once we have these details, once we click on this check-in, all these details are going to be displayed, are going to be taken from this one to this one to this one to this are going to be taken from this booking form and then display them here. How does that happen? Let's first of all double click on the form. So double click on this one. So let's scroll to the top. So let's start with the calendar. Since we already have the calendar imported, it is called calendar. That is the name of it. So what we are actually doing here is to quickly call the calendar. So we say call, we use the call method, say call. Then the name of it, the calendar, make sure it's well selected. Then we use the dot selected date method. And then where we would want it, the date to be displayed, that is what? Inside the text box 1. So when you look at this, this is actually text box 1, and then we want to display the date. So that is how come that happens. So we trigger this button and then the calendar will pop up. So basically that is what you're seeing there. So once we have that, the next thing we are going to do is to do data validation. Supposing the user, after coming here, the user just click on check-in, we would want to make sure the user fill all these details before they click on check-in. If that didn't happen, then we would want to prompt them. So with that, we validate our data. So we say what? Sheet 4 dot range z1 dot value equal to what? Text box 9 dot value. Now what I want you to know is, where is the sheet 4? The sheet 4 is the customer database, this particular sheet here, customer data. So now let's look at something. However, if yours is not sheet 4, as you can see, we are making reference to sheet 4. So you would have to, probably if your customer data is actually sheet 5 or whatever number, based on the way you created your sheet, you would have to change this to a sheet 5. Okay, but for now, our customer data, if you actually follow exactly what I did, and you realize that your customer data sheet should be sheet 4. So we say sheet 4 dot range z1 dot value equal to text box 9 dot value. Now where is the text box 9? Let's come back here. This is the text box 9 here. Let me see this. Sorry, this should be the text box 9. That is the tax. We are keeping the tax somewhere. Now where is the, let's go back here. Where is the z1 on sheet 4? Let's go to sheet 4 here. There's it. Let's come this way. On this particular sheet here, on this particular what's the name, column here, we need to add a value here on this particular column. We need to add some value. So what value are we going to add? That value is actually coming from this particular we'll be storing some value here. Okay, we'll be storing some value here. So where is that? This inside this particular range called, let me show you. Let me go to view and display my formula bar. So now this is the name. Inside this Z1 here, we are going to be storing some value there. So let's look at that. That value is coming from this particular text box 9. That is a tax. We're going to be storing the tax because we'll be doing some calculations. So don't worry. That is what is going to happen over there. So now let's go back. So now that we have that covered, we need to do validation now. If text box 2.value equal to empty, we need to tell the user that, hey, enter the details, whatever. So all these things are validation up to here. The validations end here. So what we are actually checking is to make sure that the user didn't leave all these things here empty. They should fill them. Okay, however, this one we didn't validate because it's optional. Sometimes you don't consider tax, so you leave it. So but all these compulsory ones, we would want to make sure they have them filled, else we would want to prompt them to do exactly that. That is a validation. So once we check on that, all the requirements or all the details are captured on the form there. The next thing we want to check is the booking status. How is the booking status done? We would want to check for x equal to 2 to what? To the t row. This t row is actually a variable, and we are setting it to what? sheet3.cells.rows.counts.row.nxlapp.row. We are trying to use this t row to check on this sheet 3, that is the rooms data here, to check the last row with data. That is what we are checking here on this particular sheet 3. That is the rooms data sheet. That is what we are checking there. So what we are checking to is to make sure that if LBL bed number.caption equal to what? sheet3.cells. What we are checking is this LBL bed number. What is the LBL bed number? This is it. LBL bed number. This is it. LBL bed number. We are checking if this is equal to, let me go back. If LBL bed number dot caption equal to sheet3.cells x4, what we are checking is if that value there is equal to sheet3 x4. What is the x4? It's x1, x2, x3, x4. If the bed number on this booking form here, let me show you. If the bed number here, we want to compare all these deals. If the bed number here is equal to the bed number here, and also what else? Let's check another thing. And also the category is equal to what the category have there. And the category is where we'll be switching through the forms like that. And the category is also equal to what we also have actually here. And then what else in the validation, in the checking up, and also the floor, the LBL floor dot caption, the LBL floor, where is it? Let's look at LBL floor. LBL floor, this is it. If this is also equal to what we have here, so we are checking this, and that. If all of them match, if what we have here matches what is on the form, then the last thing we would want to do is to also check. Then after checking and all those requirements are met, then we would want to say what? sheet3.cells x5, that is a column 5, for that particular record should be equal to booked. What we are checking is to determine a particular row. That is what the row which holds all this data. The rows which has details matching what we have here. Let me make it clear for you. We have these details here. The bed category, the floor, the room number, we have the bed number, the category, and then the floor. If what we have here matches with a particular record here, being it on this row or this row or this row, if what we have here matches with what is on that form, then the x5, this is the column 5, this is x1, x2, x3, x4, x5. Then that particular record, the column of it, which is x5, the cell here, which is empty, that cell for that particular record should be what? Say booked, meaning that particular room is now booked. Let me show you something. After checking and we make sure all those requirements, all what is here, actually meets or is equal to any of these records on any of this row, then that particular row for this range for that particular row should be what? Booked. If this matches with what is on the form, then this will be booked. If this matches with what's on the form, then this will be what? Also be booked. You can see that. So it's as simple as that. Now let's try it and see what I'm talking about. Let's go back here and run our form here. Boom, let's run our form. Sorry, we are not going to do that from here. We are going to start from the inquiry because that is where the starting point is. So let's run this one here. So let's single, brown, and search. So now select and go for booking. So now everything is now here. So now when we click on this, you can see this is what enter customer's phone number. So we do that. So we enter customer's phone number 054 590 There we go. Then the customer name should be here, John Doe. Then the address, JD Street. And then the purpose, maybe visit. Then the ID type, national ID. And then the ID number. Enter that. Then the advance payment. Since rent per day is 100, maybe you can say 50 cedis. Sorry, 50 cedis in advance. Then the rates, probably you would want to say maybe 0.5. Let's enter that. Let's add the tax. So once we are done, we're going to go ahead and click on check-in. So it says it was check-in successful. Now look at something. Now you can see that that particular record that meets what is on the form is now having this cell for that particular record booked. So now if we should go back, because it's now booked, meaning that room is taken. Now if we should go back to the inquiry form here and check for that room once again, which is single, brown, and search, the room is no more there because it is booked. Simple as that. So now we just took all that data from the booking form, FRM booking form. After entering all this data from here and everything here, we just, after clicking this button, we just move the data straight to what? Here. And then you can see that our Z, the Z1, which we already stated, is now holding our tax. It's going to be stored here, and then we'll be using it for calculations. That is what we're going to be doing. So I can just quickly hide it like this. I'm the only one who knows that. You, the developer, you are the only one who knows that something is actually happening there. So now, this is the data we just submitted here. So what I'm going to do is, let's quickly select this. Have the data well formatted. So let's go to home. Then here Times New Roman, and we would want to center the details and bold them. Here we have phone number. So let's quickly select this column. You can select it up to where it reaches. Then quickly select, right click on this, go to format cells, and then go to custom. Then here you would want to add up to maybe 10 zeros. It depends on the number of digits you have for your country's phone number. So you can just, there we go. So you can just add that, and then that should be captured. So now if I run this, click on OK, you can see that mine is now up to 10 digits now. So you can do that for whatever number of digits for your phone number is. You can fix that. So however, you can see that there are some columns that are empty. That is the checkout date, total number of days, and then the total amount, and then the tax. We'll be calculating the tax based on the value we have here, and then the balance. Now all those things are empty. All those things will be coming from the checkout form. We'll be seeing that in a couple of minutes. So now let's go back to finish with what we actually did here. So after running the form, we have all those details submitted. Okay, and then now on sheet 3 for that particular row, which is here, it's also saying booked. Now everything is now done. So how did we move all these details? So what we actually did was to first of all declare the WS as worksheet, and that is the customer data, where we'll be storing these customer details. And then after that, we set it to what? The customer data sheet. And then we define the empty row as long. And then that empty row is used to determine the last empty row. So once we know the last empty row, like I said, if you would want to learn how to create data entry forms, I have the video on my channel. I'll leave the links in the video description. You can watch them and you understand how all these code snippets work on how to create data form and submit data from your user form straight to your worksheet. So once that empty row is determined, then all the details from the user form here is going to be collected using these modules here, and then send them straight to what? The worksheet, which is defined here. That is the customer data. So that's actually what is happening here. So now let's look at what is actually happening here. Sheet 4.cells empty row, 19 equals sheet 4.cells empty row -1. What we're actually doing on this line is to get the transaction ID and keep adding the transaction ID by 1 anytime we enter new customer. So let's check something. Now that we've just captured the first customer, you can see the transaction ID is 1. Whenever we capture the next customer, it's going to be 2 because 1 is going to be added to this one and then here will be 2. That is actually what is happening over there. So once we have that as well, we see what check-in successful and everything is now done. So it will unload the form and then re-show the form again. It will close the form and then re-show the form. So basically that is that about the booking. So now we know how the booking is done and how the codes work. So now the next thing I want us to look at is the checkout form. Okay, so let's click on the checkout form. Now this is the checkout form here we have. So what is actually happening here? Now we have the customer. The customer has just checked in. So for us to check out the customer, we're going to run this form. Sorry, we're going to be running this form. So let's run it and see something. This is where we're going to be checking out the customer. So here we assume that the customer is going to check out. He's going to leave the hotel. So we take the customer's name, maybe John Doe, as we said, John Doe. And then we enter the bed number, or we can just click on find. And then, okay, probably, let me see this. Let me confirm the name of my customer so that I will make sure this search actually works perfectly. Name is John Doe. Okay, that is perfect. Let me go back here. Let me rerun this one here. And then, okay, let me enter the customer's name once again, John Doe. And then maybe the bed number is bed number 1. Let me find it now so you can see that everything is now here. Details, everything is here. So we enter the customer and then the bed number. Okay, so once we have this, you see that we have the check-in date here and then the checkout date. However, the check-in date and checkout date are the same. We don't want it like that. So what we are going to do is to modify our check-in date so that we send the date back so we can have something better here to work with. And then after that, I'll explain to you how all these things work. So let's see this here. So today's date being 16th, let's assume the customer came in on the 13th. So we change this to be 13th. There we go. So let's save our work. Let's come back here. Let's rerun this. Customer name, John Doe. Then the bed number is 1. There we go. So now we're fine. Perfect. So you can see that the check-in date is 13th of April 2024. Checkout date is what? 16th of April 2024. And then the check-in ID is actually 1. Bed number is 1. Category is actually a single room. And then room floor is actually ground floor. And the total number of days is 3. So from here we can go ahead and then click on checkout and issue bill. Now we are not going to go there. So how did we populate all this data? By clicking on this button. We're going to be checking on that. So this is our calendar, which is used to modify our date. If we wish to modify the date, can check on that. And like I said, I believe you also know how this calendar is here. I've already explained that in the previous lesson. Okay, so we got that as well covered. Now let's look at this particular find model here. After entering this data and everything, let's close this. So now let's double click on this find button here to see actually what is going on there. So here we have it here. The name of that particular button is let me show you something. It's called what? CMD find. So let's open it. So CMD find. So on error resume next. So we're checking error from here. So T row is just a variable that we use to what? Set to determine the last row from the sheet 4. Okay. So what we are going to do here is to check for x equal to 4 to what? The last row, we want to check something. If sheet 4.cells x2, where is sheet 4.cells x2? First of all, this is our sheet 4. The x2 is what? The B column. Okay. If that value is like what? FRM checkout.textbox1.value. If that value there is equal to this particular form we are working on, if that value there is equal to this particular value here, that is the customer's phone number or the visitor's phone number. If it's equal to what is actually here, and then the next thing is what? We want to check the next thing, or it's either this or that. Or sheet 4.cells x12. What is it? X12? Let's go. X12 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's the bed number 12. X12 dot value. If that value is also equal to what? Textbox2 dot value, which is this one here. Textbox2 dot value, then we would want to do something. Then we would want to say what? We would want to move or recall some details from here for that customer. Meaning, if the phone number and then the bed number exists for that customer from this database, meaning that customer has actually lodged in our hotel, and for that matter we have their details in our database, so we can return some for decision making. So that's what we are doing here. So once that happens, we would want to return some details. What details are we returning? We would want to return some details to the FRM checkout form, this particular form. Okay, so now let's look at what we are returning from the sheet 4, the customer details database. We have the FRM checkout.textbox3.value equal to sheet 4.cells x1. So let's look at FRM checkout textbox 3. We are talking of this one. That is the date, that is the check-in date. So we are calling the check-in date from here, that is the x1, and then we are bringing it straight to this particular range here. And also the next one we have is what? FRM checkout or textbox 4.value. Where's the textbox 4? Textbox 4 is a checkout date. Okay, so the checkout, we're going to pick the current date from here. Okay, so you make sure the date is correct, or you can use the calendar to alter the date. So we are actually picking that from, and then we are just calling the current date inside that textbox 4. And also moving forward, we have the LBL check-in ID dot caption equal to sheet 4.cells x19. That is the transaction ID. So we are saying that this particular check-in ID here, is it LBL check-in ID, should be coming from this particular sheet 4 here, column 19. It should be coming from here. So we return that to the form. And also when we come back to the next one here, that is a bed number. Let's look at that. So we have a bed LBL FRM checkout or LBL bed number dot caption will be coming from sheet 4.x.cells cells inside the parenthesis x12. When you go to x12, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 11 12, so that we have the bed number. So we are picking this value from here, and then we are bringing it back to our user form here, bed number. So we are returning the category also from that, and then also the room floor. They are all coming from the customer database. So this is just a theory or the logic we use to search for records from our user form. Like I said, all these things are captured in data entry forms development in Excel VBA, and I have those videos in the link in the video description. You can follow along and know how to create user form where you can enter customers data, you can search, you can validate, you can delete, you can update. Okay, all those things, you understand that and you know what is actually happening here. And then the total number of days is actually going to be calculated by default. So let's look at how that is actually working. So let's go there. So you can see we have LBL total number of days of caption equal to what? The checkout date. So we are going to look at the checkout date and then subtract it from what? You say what? FRM checkout.textbox 4. That is the checkout date. So we are subtracting the check-in date from the checkout date, and that will give us what? The total number of days, which will be displayed here. So we are subtracting. If this is let's say initially when we check it was 13, and here is now 16. So we subtract this from this, and then we should have 3 as the total number of days, and that will also display here. So basically that is how we are able to return those details from the form and have them from the database and have them also displayed in here. Now the next thing is the checkout. How is the checkout done? Let's first of all work on it to see what is actually happening. Let's click on this. So we enter the number 05425908554, and then let's click on find. So we are able to return that without even the bed number. So once that happens, you can see the total number of days is actually 3. So we want to click on checkout. So when we click on checkout, let's see what's going to happen. Checkout done. So now we need to click on bill to issue bill. We'll be covering that in our next lesson, but let's look at how this checkout was done. So now after checking out, let's look at something. If we should go to room enquiry and search for that bed, we should be able to have it. So now you click on this single ground and search. Let's search. Oh gosh, something need to happen before that room will be vacant. Let me check something. Let me come to room 4 here. It's still booked. That is why you can see it's still booked. That is why we didn't get what we want. So now let me show you something from the FRM checkout form. After clicking on this checkout, when we click on this bill, that is when that room is going to be vacant. Okay, and we'll be seeing that in our next lesson. However, let's see how this checkout module is working. Let's double click on it. Perfect. So now what is actually happening here is this. Let's look at this. This is what the T row, like I said, is a variable that we use to check the last empty row. So we want to see something. If LBL checking ID caption equal to sheet 4.cells, we are checking to make sure that the transaction ID is actually there. It exists from our database. If that happens, so the transaction ID is from here. We show you is here. Now transaction ID is 1. So let's see how that is affecting our checkout model. So if that happens, then sheet 4.cells x13 equal to what? Text box 4.value. So now you can see that from this particular sheet, we have some columns that are vacant. What are the columns? Holy shit, sorry. Initially, I showed you some columns were vacant. That was the checkout date was vacant, and also the checkout was vacant, and also the total number of days, which is here. Total number of days was also vacant. Let me see, the checkout date was vacant. This one was vacant here, and then total number of days was also vacant. And then what else? And also check-in ID was also, let me see, sorry, this is fine. And also x16 is equal to so let me show you something. And also x16, let me show you the x16 and see what is happening there. This is 19, 18, 17, 16. Total amount, we're not able to calculate the total amount because we didn't know the number of days the customer actually spent. So what I'm going to do is let me clear this. Let me remove total amount, total number of days, checkout dates, and then let me save this. Let me go back. I'll be showing you what is actually happening there. Let's see that. And we also have 17. Let's see this 17. This is 19, 18, 17. Then the tax. Let me clear this. Not there. Okay, then let's go back to the next one. And then x18. 18 is also not there. Let's go to 18. This balance is also not there. Let's clear this. There we go. So you can see that these fields are actually vacant. How did they come here? It came as a result of we running the checkout model. Okay, the checkout model, this particular model. So that is why it actually cleared them, so that we can bring them back for us to see what exactly we did. Okay, so now let's run this form now. Let's open the checkout model, rather the checkout button. That is the CMD checkout. Let's open it. So now when you open it, what we are actually saying is that if the check-in ID, okay, that is it. We are first of all we are checking the last row to determine if the check-in ID exists. And for now, you can see by default it is there. Check-in ID is 1 is there. That is transaction ID. If it exists, then we want to do something. Sheet 4.cells x13 should be coming from what? We would want to pick the value from what? Text box 4.value. Where is that? Text box 4. This is text box 4. That is the checkout date. Text box 4. We would want to pick it from here after clicking on this checkout button. After seeing all these details here, when we click on find, we would want to send this one. That is the value from the text box 4. We want to send it straight and then bring it here. That is the checkout date. So you can see from the model here, it says what? It should go to what? X13, that is the column 13, should be what? The value of text box 4. So let's look at column 13, column 14, 16, 17, and 18. Let's look at them so that the explanation becomes simple. This is column 18, column 17, then column 16, then this 15, which is already captured, then column 14, and then column 13. Now you can see they are all empty. So we are picking their values straight from here, from what? This date, bed number, room floor, total number of days, category days. We are picking those values from here and then display them inside there. When we talk of checking ID, that one is already there. So the bed number, so we start with the checkout date. Checkout date, let's look at this. Checkout date will be here. The total number of days will be here. Where would that come from? That will be coming from this. Then let's go back. And then we have the total amount. Where is that? Total amount, there will be some calculation that I'll be showing you, and that will give us the value that is going to also sit here. Then the tax, we already have a value which is stored here. That is a Z1 cell. That is going to be calculated. We can have the tax also here. And then the balance is also going to be calculated. So that is that. Now let's look at how all those things are done. So after taking the value from the text box 4 and then the total number of days, the rest is going to be calculation. Now the X16, where is the X16? The X16 is actually the total amount. How did we get the total amount? Let's look at that. It says what? Total amount is equal to what? Sheet 4.cells X14 multiplied by what? X15. Where is the X14 and X15? This is the X14. So we are multiplying total number of days by this. So when this is multiplied by this, we get a total amount. It's as simple. By then, we already have this total number of days from this particular rate I've already showed you. So that is that. And the next one, we also have the X17. The X17, what is there? That is the tax. How do you calculate the tax? So we say what? Sheet 4.cells X16 multiplied by what? Sheet 4.cells Z1. So X16, the value which is here, X16, this, the value that is coming here, we're going to be multiplying it by what? Z1 value, which is already stored here. Don't forget. So we multiply and then we have that value here as well. That will be inside, let me see. That will be for the, that is a tax. When we multiply this value by this value, then we get a tax. That is that. Now the last one, which is what? The 18. The 18 is what? That is the balance. How did we calculate the balance? We calculate the balance after getting the tax. We add tax to the total amount. So that is what? Sheet 4.cells X16. Where's the X16? X16 is the total amount. X16 plus sheet 4.cells X17. We add the total amount by the tax, and that gives us the balance. Now the customer has to pay before leaving the hotel. So basically, that is what is actually happening here. So once all these things are done, all those details are going to be stored inside the database again. And then you can see that we have our database completely filled. Now let's do that and see now. So now let's search by using just the bed number so that we don't delay much. So fine, we have that. You can see this total number of days is 3. So here when we click on checkout, let's see this checkout is done. So now let's close the form and see what I'm talking about. So you can see that here now we have all of them. We have the tax balance, we have the total amount, we have the checkout date, and then the total number of days. So that is that. So basically, it is as simple as that on the checkout form. Now, the next thing we are going to quickly look at is the bill button. Okay, the bill button, how these codes are going to be executed and what is going to happen next. And that is what we'll be looking at in our next lesson. So see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.